Hey everybody, it's Dan from AdWords Nerds here, and I'm here to answer some of the most common questions that real estate investors have about using AdWords to generate motivated seller leads. And so this is our first video. We're going to kick off this series with probably the biggest question, the question that I get asked the most, and probably the most serious question, right? Which is, how do I figure out what a good budget is? Like, how much money do I need to spend in AdWords in order to generate some leads and hopefully generate some deals? So we've actually developed a custom formula for you to use. I'm going to walk you through it right now. So let's go over the computer and I'll walk you through the whole process, and hopefully we'll make it kind of easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So I'll see you in a bit. All right. We're here at the computer and we are going to finally figure out your AdWords budget specifically for real estate investors. And I'm going to show you the formula that we've created that we use with our clients to help them figure out what they need to actually be spending in AdWords. Now, before we get started, a quick caveat. This is an estimate. There are so many ways in AdWords that you can drive your budget down, you can increase it, you can get more efficient, less efficient. There's so much strategy and tactics involved that any estimate we're going to give you is just that. It's an estimate, it's a rule of thumb. It's just meant to help you think through this process and figure out if AdWords is right for you. But if this number is high or it's lower than you expected, don't get too freaked out. You're really going to have to get into AdWords and just test it out anyway and see how it does. But this is a really good place to start. So let's get to it. How do we figure out what our budget should be in AdWords if we want to generate motivated seller leads and generate some deals? So we're going to ask you a couple questions, and I want you to, as we ask these, figure these out and then write down your numbers because you're going to need them again at the end, okay? So remember, as we do these, write down your number, okay? So question number one is, how's your website conversion rate? Now, conversion rate, of course, is just the percentage at which people land on your site and become leads. So if you're sending people to your site and they fill out the form, that's a lead. You know, what percentage of people do that? And this is a really important number to know. You really need to know this in order to drive a lot of your online marketing going forward. So it's important to figure it out. So if you're not sure what it is, just remember that conversion rate equals the number of leads divided by the number of visitors times 100. So let's take, let's say the last 30 days. Let's say you got 100 leads in those 30 days. Let's say you got 1,000 visitors in that time, and that is going to be 10%, okay? Let me give you another example, maybe a little closer to reality for most of you. Let's say you got 20 leads over a month, and you had a total of 250 visitors during that time. 20 divided by 250 is going to give you 0.08. 0.08 times 100 gives you an 8% conversion rate, okay? And I know many of you probably know this already, and you might be like rolling your eyes, but as someone who's horrible at math, I just want to spell this out for the people that maybe aren't that great at math, like me. It helps to spell it out. So anyway, that's your conversion rate. And if you go in Google Analytics or you have Investor Carrot or something, you'll be able to find your conversion rate information in there. So just make a note of what that number is for you. All right, on to question number two. How many leads does it take you to generate a deal? Now, this is going to vary really wildly from person to person, but it's going to depend on how good you are at closing, how good you are at getting people on the phone and convincing them that they want to put a property under contract with you. It's going to depend on your follow-up system. Do you have automated email follow-up? Do you have a CRM? Do you have a team that follows up with people? All those things affect how many leads it takes you to generate a deal. But let me give you some rule of thumb numbers if you're not totally sure. So the number that people usually throw around is 1 lead out of 30. That's typically based on direct mail response rates. And it's like, okay, for every 30 leads you get, you're going to generally get 1 deal out of that, right? So that's cool. Then you've got online leads. Online leads, particularly leads that come to you via Google organic search and that you generated via SEO, tend to be higher quality, and so that tends to be 1 out of 20 or so. And with AdWords, we've seen that number get really low, down as far as 1 out of every 12 or 1 out of every 15. But that's not super common. That's why I put a question mark there. So you want to figure out what your number is. If you want to be conservative, which I typically do with people, use 1 out of every 30. If you want to kind of split the difference, you can use 1 out of 20. Or if you feel like, you know, we've got a killer sales process, I've got a great team, we're just killing it, you might use that 1 out of every 15 number. So take a moment, write that number down. Remember, you got your conversion rate from question number 1. Now we've got how many leads it takes you to generate a deal in question number 2. Now we're on to question number 3. Surprise, surprise. How many deals do you want to generate in a year? Now, you want to keep this number reasonable, and remember that we're just talking about from AdWords. So we're not including, deals you generate via word of mouth and via referral or SEO. So just in AdWords, how many deals would you like to generate in a year? Okay, so make a note of that number. It can be whatever you want. Obviously, the more deals, the more money, but you just keep that in mind. Okay? So we've got those 3 questions, and now it comes to the formula. This is going to look a little intimidating, but we're going to break it down. I swear to God, it's going to be easy, and you're going to be able to do this with a simple calculator or on your computer or in your head if you're smart, or with an abacus or whatever. All right, so here we go. All this formula is the numbers that we figured out using the questions from before, but broken down into a formula format, right? So our first one, HML, that's how many leads you need to close a deal. Right, so we said like maybe it's 1 out of every 20. There you would put 20. Okay? If it's 1 out of every 30, you'd put 30. Then we've got how many deals you want to generate in a year. Let's say you want to generate 10 deals or 30 deals or 100 deals. Put that number there. Okay? CR is your conversion rate that we figured out before as a decimal. So for example, if your conversion rate is 10%, that's going to be 0.10. If your conversion rate is 8%, it's going to be 0.08. Okay, so we got your conversion rate as a decimal. The last number, CPC, is your average cost per click. And we haven't talked about that yet. I'm going to talk about it in a second. I'm going to tell you that number, so don't worry about it. All we got to figure out is these first 3 numbers. How many leads we need times how many deals we want divided by our conversion rate as a decimal. Let me show you an example, okay? Well, actually, I'll show you an example in a second after I tell you about average cost per click. Average cost per click. So cost per click in AdWords is the amount that you're spending on average every time someone clicks your ad. Fairly self-explanatory, right? And this can vary pretty wildly depending on where you are and how much competition you have, and what you bid, and all this stuff. So the number we're going to use to estimate is the average. Now, it's really actually hard to figure out what the average cost per click is going to be. Google only tells you like really, really vague information. It's really general. It's all nationwide. It can be hard to nail this down. One of the cool things about watching this video from us is that we only work with real estate investors. All of our AdWords clients are investors. And so I can actually look at historical data across all of our clients and tell you the real world average cost per click for most investors. And we manage some of the biggest names in investment, and people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars a week, all the way down to people spending, very tiny amounts. So we get a pretty accurate picture of what the average cost per click is. Are you ready? You curious? You imagine a little drum roll? Okay, average cost per click is actually about $6.46 nationwide. Now again, that number is going to vary pretty wildly depending on where you are and what kind of keywords you're bidding on. But for estimation purposes, $6.46 is a pretty accurate number for you to use. So let's plug that back into our equation. We've got how many leads we need times how many deals we want divided by the conversion rate as a decimal times the average cost per click for investors, which is $6.46. If you've got a different number you want to use, you use that number. If you've got historical data in your own account you want to use that. But if you need an average number, that's what you can use. So let's show this in real world and kind of see what it looks like and what it spits out. Okay, so let's take this example. It takes me 20 leads to close a deal, and I want to close 10 deals this year. Okay, so 20 times 10 is going to give me 200. All right, so if I want to close 10 deals, I need 200 leads. I'm going to divide that number, 200, by my conversion rate as a decimal. So let's say my conversion rate is 10%. About 10% of the people that land on my website become leads. And so I've got 200 divided by 0.10, 10% as a decimal. Okay. Then I'm going to multiply that number by 6.46. That's $6.46 average cost per click for all investors across the country. So what does that give me? Well, that's going to give me 200 divided by 0.10 times 646. That's going to give me $12,290. But that's for the entire year. So let's figure out what my budget needs to be per day and per month. So if I divide it by 365, I can divide that 12,290 number by 365. That's going to give me a $33 a day budget. If I divide that number by 12, that's going to give me a $1,024 budget for the month. So if I want to generate 10 deals from AdWords this year, my estimated budget, this kind of rule of thumb budget is going to be about $12,290 for the year, or $33 a day, $1,024 a month. And that is how you figure out what your budget in AdWords is going to be if you're a real estate investor. Now, let me tell you the caveats. It's just a rule of thumb, and your cost per click might be higher, it might be lower. There's all sorts of ways that you can get something different. But if you're looking for a way to figure out if you have enough money to compete in AdWords, or what's a good goal to start with in terms of number of deals you want, or how an increasing conversion rate might improve your performance, this is the formula you want to use. How many leads I need to close a deal times how many deals I want to generate in a year. That number divided by your conversion rate times your average cost per click. So guys, thank you so much for watching this. This is part of a series where I'm answering the 10 most common questions that investors have about AdWords. If you want to get more, just head over to AdWordsNerds.com. That's AdWordsNerds.com. Click on the blog. All the videos will be there. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it. This is Dan Barrett signing off.